Hello everyone, this is Sadaka. I recently watched my video, The Akadewa, The Crowley Connection, subtitle, and I'm slipping down. I really had thought that I had gone into much more detail about what the Akadewa is, and it did not. There aren't a lot of videos out there on the Akadewa, and there's not that much information exactly what it is and what it does and what it feels like. So given that that small video that I made had like one of them had the most hits out of most of the videos that I had done, I figured I should talk more about the Akadewa and what it is and what it does and where it's going. In this video, hopefully I will get to all of those things, questions and answers and all that good stuff. I haven't written anything down. So I'm going to stop looking over here. If you're sensitive, then in some of the videos that I begin, or that I do, I start with a little blast of Akadewa, because it's a very powerful substance, energetic substance that people can feel very strongly. What is it? The Akadewa is a magically refined solar energetic substance. Now that's a loaded phrase, and so I want to go through the entire thing and pick it apart, and I'll tell you why I particularly like that phrase. Magically refined, what does that mean? Shamans, magicians, alchemists of the body, priests or priest-shamans have for centuries been using this substance, this energetic substance, and refining it, as in the way a metal is refined in the alchemical process. It goes through various stages. They collect this substance, and I'll just say right now, I'll go into the second part of the phrase. It comes from the sun. So like the way a plant stores up energy from the sun, we don't question the method that it's using for storing up that energy. We call it photosynthesis, and we sort of know how it works, and that's it. If we knew the process by which magicians could physically get this energy from the sun, then we would name it, and then nobody would have a problem with it because it had a name. I'm not going to bother to try and define for you how a magician or priest or alchemist or whatever would go about taking energy from the sun, taking it into the body, and working with it. That's a different lecture entirely. But these magicians and priests and shamans would take this energy from the sun, store it up within their own bodies, cultivate it and refine it and refine it and refine it, and eventually it became what we call the Akadewa today. Solar substance, solar energetic substance, what I like to use that phrase because it does come from the sun, first of all. Energetic, meaning it is a type of energy, which we call like Reiki or the Ilahi Nur or Diksha. It is what we like to call an energy today because you can't really see it unless you have, really powerful clairvoyant abilities. I've known one person who said she could see it before when I was working with it. And we call it a substance because the Akadewa is not like a Reiki type of energy. Now, to go into this further, Reiki is complicated in and of itself because it's supposed to mean, in the Western mind, Reiki, Japanese for universal, and then life force energy, universal life force energy. This is, of course, a misnomer. And we think that probably Usui Sensei originally either just meant the blessed energy that was coming from his ancestors, that was coming through him, which was sort of what Reiki Ryoho means. But even beyond that, he was probably talking about something a lot more mysterious and etherical, or whatever you want to call it. Reiki, as it's defined today, and especially in the West, is this type of energy that's just out there in this like nebulous mass somewhere in the cosmos that's purple, and you have to have an attunement to be able to tune into it and use it. I'm not saying that you don't have to have an attunement. I am saying that you can attune yourself. That is certainly possible. Some people might just be able to start using it, okay? And that's just the way the energetic matrices of nowadays works. The Ikaduwa is not like that. The Ikaduwa is a substance in that it dwells within the body, within the heart center, and it stays there. And it has to be passed physically from one person to another for them to take it into their body, have it be stored there, it locks into place, and then they can use it. What we feel as the Ikaduwa in its 7 varieties, and there are 7, possibly 7+ varieties of the Ikaduwa, that you will get all of them should you choose to take the plunge into working with the Ikaduwa. Eventually you'll get there. What was my point? Yeah. I'll go back and correct that later. 7 varieties of the Ikaduwa and so on. It's stored physically in the body, in the heart center, and goodness, completely lost my train of thought. Okay. So yeah, magically refined solar energetic substance, which means it's a physical substance. You can't really see it unless you have good clairvoyant abilities, but whatever. What it does to the body, it will initiate basically a chemical reaction. I think I'm still slipping, aren't I? This is just lovely. Basically, a chemical reaction in the body. Things start to change in your body. Your physical systems will start to change. In one sense, you'll start to produce less adrenaline should you use it all the time. Become a calmer person. External stimuli don't affect you as much in that it sort of creates like a barrier or like a shield. I wouldn't really call it like a shield, but it's a sort of an extra layer of energetic protection. Okay? What else it does to the body is it can be used, or it starts to create a second vehicle for the energy body. So you can use Reiki, or you can use any of those types of energies out there. Ooh, I think I remembered my point before. To create an extra vehicle that you can travel, like a Merkaba type of thing or whatever, or you can use, the physical energy of the body. But the Ikaduwa is different. It sort of uses all of the different chakras in a certain combination. It goes through them and it refines them in a certain way, and then it starts to create an extra energetic body outside of your normal energy matrix. What else? It can be used for healing. Mostly, and I think the most interesting part of the Ikaduwa is the consciousness that it conveys. It has a sort of consciousness. When you activate it, it changes your consciousness. And this can happen in the deeper realms of any type of energy work, where you start to become the energy that you're working with. You just sort of like melt into it, and all of a sudden, you feel as Reiki, or whatever you're working with. And that can happen with a lot of things, and so the line gets fuzzy. But I had Reiki, I had worked with it for a while, and I had never really experienced that, unlike, trying to get into it or whatever. Then in certain levels of working with the Ikaduwa, I would notice this just subtle shift, and all of a sudden you look around you and everything's a little bit shinier, and everything's a little bit slower, and has a sort of creepy vibrancy to it, like it's gonna start talking at any minute, and it's really bizarre. And I don't know whether that's because it's solar based or what, but that's one of the qualities that the Ikaduwa has, to physically change your consciousness on a very obvious level. Maybe I should have written some things down. Yeah, no. what are some of the things that you can do with it? Well, I was just describing healing. A lot of people, because it does change your consciousness in a very unique and real and obvious way, people put it into performance art. So people will activate it, and then they will dance, then they will do their performance within the flow of the Ikaruwa, and it's a very tangible experience, as opposed to just like activating Reiki and then dancing. You know, it's like nobody really talks about that. Putting it into everyday working activities, which is something that it's very useful for. Since it does change your point of concentration, your point of consciousness, one of the best things to do with it is to concentrate on something. And when you're talking about different meditative states, like the Buddhist absorption meditations or access concentration, or getting into the different jhanas, it's incredibly useful because you're trying to focus the mind on one particular point of awareness, like such as the breath. And as you're doing that, you're setting up your mind so it has a certain, focused quality. You're focusing on one thing, and then you're actually creating a circuit so that you're getting an energy feedback, instead of constantly thinking up and down and going back here and then scanning the body and then looking over here and then thinking about your grocery list and then I have to go to work tomorrow and then oh my god, I'm so depressed lately, or whatever, and wasting all this mental energy. You're putting that mental energy and focus into the breath in those certain absorption meditations. The Ikaruwa can do the same thing. You put your focus on it, and since it does change your consciousness, it very easily moves your consciousness into that concentrated access concentration, whatever you want to call it, and that absorbative that's not the right word, state of absorption, state of concentration, absorption, concentration, or whatever, and sets up a feedback loop so that you're actually getting more energy by using this type of concentration than if you were to just use the energy by itself, or just stare at an object and meditate on it, which is not to downplay the importance of jhana meditation or anything like that, which is absolutely extraordinary in itself, but using a tool like the Ikaruwa, you can push it a little bit further and in an interesting and new direction. It can be used magically. Something as simple as this, holding your hands this way, you put a point of intention at the tip of your fingers and you let the Ikaruwa build up, and there will be a point when you can breathe and let go of your hands. And you will have a perfect breath where it goes all the way down and you don't feel cheated. Because the Ikaruwa is so physical, unlike any other energy modality I've ever worked with, and I've worked with a lot, because it's so physical, it moves you. It can start to affect your breath, your breathing in general, your demeanor, like I said, your physical states of adrenaline, etc., and different things like that. It also does interesting things with your neurotransmitters if you focus it in that direction. When you do something like that, you will know when it's ready to be released, because you're using this substance as not an external source, but a different, or let's just say a separate power source separate from your physical bioenergy or whatever magical energies you may have concentrated within yourself, if any, or sexual energy or anything physical, just physical energy, mental energy, etc. You can use this substance as a separate energy from those energies. You could do this with Reiki as well, and a lot of people talk about the magic of Reiki, and you can, focus Reiki into this work or whatever, and that's fine. The Ikaruwa takes it to a different level. What I feel when I do this is like it'll just build up and build up and build up. I'll feel things drawing from my mental intention, because I'm putting an intention at the tip of my fingers, letting it manifest, and it just sort of like pools and pools and pools, and then there's a point of just like where you can take the breath all the way down and it's done and the energy is ready to release. That's a tool for manifestation. And you just sit calmly with your intention and just know as you're activating the Ikaduwa, and it's pooling and pooling and pooling, that your intention is pure, and that all those thoughts that you have in between, where this isn't going to work, I'm doubtful, am I doing this long enough, should I wait, whatever, all those thoughts don't matter, and your intention is going to be pure, and it's going to work, and it's going to be fine. Just know that, and it will happen eventually, and you will feel a point of necessary release. You can put it into symbols, sigils, and all that good magical work. You can put it into candles if you do candle magic, etc., etc. You can activate it while playing music or while reciting mantras, so that your speech, the vibrations coming out of your body, are a physical manifestation of the Ikaduwa. And once you really get into that, it's very powerful and very moving. Other methods, I like to use my hands for so many things, I don't know why. You can also do this. You can build up your point of concentration, and then I've noticed this mudra is incredibly powerful for channeling energy forward, especially towards a specific point. And so what I do is I let the intention pool, and then when I feel like that point of release that I was talking about before, I don't release it off completely yet. I go like this, and I can feel it so strongly that my hands shake a little bit, and the energy moves forward. And typically, when you're manifesting in front of the heart chakra is the best. Just let this energy flow outward and outward and outward, and eventually it will just move, and it'll be out there, and that's a way to focus the energy towards a specific intent or goal or object. You can, this is an interesting one that Coyote likes to talk about, you can bring objects to life with the Ikaduwa. This is an interesting one. Obviously, all objects are imbued with a certain type of consciousness. If anybody works with talismans or crystals, you can take a crystal and focus the Ikaduwa into it with the intention to bring it to life. Now, what's interesting about this is if you're energetically sensitive enough, you will notice either when you come into contact with that object again that it's giving off a conscious type of energy. I don't know if, apart from the fact that every type of matter in the universe is an expression of consciousness in general, I don't know if I would say that crystals are particularly conscious. You might completely disagree, I don't care. But imbuing them or imbuing anything with the Ikaduwa, when you come into contact with it again, it has a liveliness about it. So you come back into contact with it. I've done things and I just walk past them, and all of a sudden the entire left side of my body, like in projection towards that object, tingles, and I'm like, oh, hello. Didn't see you there. Yeah. And what other uses that has besides certain magical uses like imbuing talismans and rocks and stones and crystals and different things and candles or whatever, I'll leave you to decide. But that's one of the things that you can do with it as well. One of the biggest things, and we learned this in the level 3 masterclass, is there's a certain, and I won't go through it. Well, one of the other things that you can do is you can use it in mudras. You can use it in different hand formations, whichever finger combination you wish, or all this kind of stuff, and circulate the energy like from your heart chakra or wherever you're doing it, and just move it all through your body, and it will purify channels in your body. That's another thing that it does that I should have mentioned before, is that it really clears out all the energetic channels, the nadis, the chakras, etc. But you have to use it. You have to focus it, otherwise it will just sit there in your heart and it won't do anything. It might activate at strange times, but if you don't use it, it's not going to do anything. Let's see. Oh yeah, the other thing that I wanted to say is there's a particular, we went through it in the level 3 masterclass, a particular chakra lock, I'll call it. It's a key, really, not a lock, but it opens a lock. And it is a code, a chakra code. It's a particular order of chakras, starting with the heart, and it goes up in a certain particular order. You use the Ikaduwa in each of these different chakras. In this particular method, we used a vowel sound to intone while touching the chakra, you know, all the way through. What I like to do is, and I didn't mention this before, I apologize, is that there are 7 varieties of the Ikaduwa, each one that can correspond to each of the 7 chakras. What I like to do is use that particular variety for each chakra as I'm going up and down in this chakra code. What happens, and one person told me after I had given her an Ikaduwa session, she said, "This is just really extraordinary, I can't believe it. It's like 15 minutes later and I'm still feeling things happening, and my back is popping in these weird places and things are still going on. I can't believe it lasts this long." And that's the other thing about the Ikaduwa, is it will last for an incredibly long amount of time in your system. It stays. The Ikaduwa stays. It sticks to things, unlike many energies that I've experienced before, which are just kind of fluffy and fly by night. So what happens when you do this chakra code, we'll call it, and you can experiment with all kinds of different combinations. You say, I'm gonna activate my brow chakra and then my heart chakra, and then my brow chakra and then my heart chakra, and you get this loop going between the two of them, and all of a sudden you'll have a spiritual experience, no matter what kind of energy you use, or you're just meditating on them in particular, in that particular order. You'll have an experience. It's really an interesting phenomenon that I think is probably overlooked. But once you do this chakra code, what I've noticed is that you've got this like complete separate energy body that's just like flowing in all these different directions, and all of the energies and the different aspects of the Ikaduwa are flowing and mixing and making this alchemical body apart from you, and it's really extraordinary. I won't go through the code because that could be for a different video. Another thing that I've noticed, and this also has to do, this is a long video, I'm sorry, but I have a lot to cover, I guess. It's one of my favorite topics, the Ikaduwa. Another thing that you can do, and I haven't experimented with this so much, you can feed the Ikaduwa emotion. Okay, so the way you activate it is to either just say, I activate the Ikaduwa, and then wait for it, and you'll feel something, and it'll be great. Another way to do it is to feel it's activating. So what does that mean? You sink into your heart center, which is where it's stored, and you feel the warmth of it start to emanate and start to flow. Feeling things energetically is much more important than visualizing them or than willing them. Visualization and willing is mental. Feeling something is physical, and that's, I don't want to say easier, but I would say stronger, especially when it comes to the Ikaduwa, which does not respond well to mental energy. It doesn't. So you can sink into it, feel it coming, and when you develop that ability, you also have the ability to feed it your emotions. So I'm feeling angry. I can nice face there, right? I'm feeling angry, so I will take my anger and I will activate the Ikaduwa with my anger. And you can do that. You kind of like sync that angry feeling, or wherever the angry feeling is, and you start to notice, if you get even slightly adept at noticing your emotional states and the power that they have behind them, you can physically identify where that physical emotional feeling is in your body and move it around. So let's say I'm angry and it's in my solar plexus region. Now I'm going to take that feeling, the feeling that is the anger, and move it towards activating the Ikaduwa. And it seems really bizarre, but you can do it. When you do it, it activates the Ikaduwa, and that feeling becomes the Ikaduwa, and then it's no longer anger. And that's a very powerful tool in and of itself. I mean, without the Ikaduwa, you can apply it to different things, but with it, it's even more extraordinary. Okay, if you've stuck with me this long, congratulations. You get a prize. See my email. I guess if anybody's watching this and has stuck through the entire thing, thank you very much for sticking with me. If you would like to learn more about the Ikaduwa, you can go to the Tequiwa Foundation. It's TEQUIHUA Foundation.org. Or you can contact me on this YouTube channel. I am a level 3, so that means I can give you the transmission so that you can use it and work with it yourself. You have to get it from somebody. If somebody says, oh, you can just pull it out of the ether, that's not true. It's not Reiki. And I think that was the point that I fumbled on a while ago. Reiki is something that you can attune yourself to, and you can find out in the universe and pull in to your body, but it is not something that resides within your body as a physical substance, as the Ikaduwa does, which is what, in my opinion, makes it so special, the Ikaduwa. Okay, we'll just leave it at that. Deep love.